Can I read the mission statement?
Please.
I want to read the mission.
Go ahead.
We went back and forth on how we should word this, what I Am FAYA means to us, and what we are going to give to the community.
Wellness is being on time. You know, it can be any one of those things. You know, but it's something that I'm aware of. Come on.
Exactly.
Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. Party on down to the escape beat. Just kick it. Just kick it. Just kick it. It really shouldn't have been escape. It should have been I Am FAYA beat.
I am FAYA.
Oh, this guy.
All right.
I am here with Ivory, Akeisha, and my cousin Francis, and they're starting their new podcast, The Wellness Kickback.
Yes.
I'm a guest on there, and they invited me.
Thank you.
To kick them off because I have a podcast called The Kickback Podcast.
Right.
Irony, right?
Check it out.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Really?
Yeah. That's why I was like, he would have been good at our kickback because the Kickback podcast could have been kicking back with us and letting the people know what we do.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris, Avery, Shamar, and
Shout
out to them. But
great couple of guys too. Thank you for doing my interview. Well, doing an interview with me
we did
for my second podcast with Coco Jim. So thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah. But this episode is about their journey, their wellness, their spirituality, all of that. So I want to ask the first thing. What is I Am FAYA? Like what do people know? What's
I Am FAYA?
What is I Am FAYA?
What is I Am FAYA?
All right, so I guess I'll start because all right. So of course my name is Ivory Akeisha. My brand is I Am, right? I am a spiritual wellness advocate for Black and Brown people, right? Anybody that looks like me who have been through similar experiences as I have. And one of my main goals is to get people to identify who they are. Who are you? And so that's where I Am comes from. And then you have
the FAYA. Just to kind of also piggyback off of what she was saying, I Am FAYA came together because they're two separate brands, but we have brought them together because it just flows like that. But the I Am is the spiritual aspect, and then FAYA is the body aspect, because FAYA is more of, for me, especially with my business, I have a cold pressed juice business, Coco Gin, whoop, whoop, whoop. And my personal wellness journey really had more to do with initially my body, in terms of like what I put inside of it, what I do with it, and understanding that, and even now, like, having that an understanding of like the vessel, taking care of the vessel, because the spirit can't be right if the vessel isn't right. So we came together because we both, love wellness, and it's a big thing for us. And also in terms of what we would like to do for the community. So, we kind of sat down one day and we were talking about, working together, and, I Am was her brand. And then, FAYA was my brand. And I just thought like, those two just kind of fit and they just kind of flow together. So
hold on, before you keep going, where does FAYA come from? Where did that word, how did that word come about?
Okay, so FAYA in itself, it's two words that I kind of put together. Aya is the base word, which is a West African Adinkra symbol. Means like resourcefulness, endurance, and the ability to be able to just like, conquer all adversity. And for me, it just means resiliency. And it came to me at a really just, big time in my life. And, just meant a lot of like, just, blooming wherever you're planted kind of thing, So then that was Aya. And then, my name is Francis. Yeah, my name is Francis. So I just had to throw that in there. And so then FAYA. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. And it just kind of, the wordplay on it was just real cute.
That is great wordplay.
Yeah.
That's great wordplay.
So I Am FAYA. Come on, what's not FAYA?
I Am FAYA.
About that, all right?
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, but let the people know, like, what are some of the goals, or what do you want to accomplish with the I Am Fire life? What, like, for the people, what are they going to gain from this community? And, what are you trying to promote to people? You know,
Can I read the mission statement?
Please.
I want to read the mission
Go ahead.
statement. We went back and forth on how we should word this, what I Am Fire means to us, and what we are going to give to the community. So we created this mission statement, and I'm so proud of it because it fits. If I can get to it, because it fits us so well. All right. So I Am Fire is a community-focused movement created with the mission to integrate fun, accessibility, and support to those on a journey to wellness. Our focus is community engagement, intentional guidance, and providing transformative products and services to enhance the lives of people seeking a holistic lifestyle. I Am Faya's future, because you asked about it, I Am Faya's future involves wellness retreats, community-driven events, and a platform to share a wealth of knowledge surrounding all things wellness.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, she said it in a nutshell.
Okay. That's great. As far as the spiritual side, I want to just go there. Like, what got you to the point where you're like so like invested in spiritual? Because I personally, asked for like that's what, a natal reading.
Yes, you did.
Yes,
you asked
yes,
for an
yes.
astrology reading. Yes.
So what got
Peter
you there?
came to me and asked for an astrology reading. So I guess what got me started in the spiritual aspect of wellness is, so I have been studying astrology for maybe about 4 years now. And so I just kind of dabbled into it. And I noticed how, like, it makes you understand who you are as a person, right? And again, my whole brand is I am, just like learning who you are as a person. I believe that once you realize or become aware that you are a spiritual being, like you have your physical persona and then you have yourself, which a lot of people don't understand as two separate components of you, right? But you have yourself, and that's really just kind of the spiritual aspect of wellness, being able to nurture yourself, nurture that true being of who you are. And so I really got on this journey because I went through a whole lot. You go through trauma, you go through life, all of these hardships, and it sometimes it wakes you up and puts you on the right path. Sometimes you just get lost in it, and sometimes it kind of shakes you so hard that you have to like question things. And so it shook me so hard that it just kind of questioned me and snapped me out of it. And I started asking questions and just diving into all of this different information. And that's really how I came about spiritual wellness, in a sense, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Okay. And now for the body. So you're my cousin, so I know a lot. But what got you to be more invested into your body and getting yourself right? Because you have your own brand, Coco Gin. But what got you to be like, okay, this is what I want to do, and focusing on the body and making sure other people, are also well with their body.
Yeah. My journey, my journey started back in 2014. But it started from a personal place. I knew that like, not necessarily transparency moment, but I have PCOS. And with that, there's a concern. It's a hormonal syndrome, where there are possibilities of like inability to manage your weight. Yes. Inability to manage weight, potential inability to have children, things of that nature. And I noticed that in my body because, as a female, my menstrual cycle was just off. I was just like, okay, something's not right. And I'm like, if that's off, but I have to take birth control for that to happen, then that kind of defeats the purpose or the ability for me to have children. Because if I'm not menstruating, then the eggs are circulating. That it was just really, it was a lot. So it just didn't make sense. So I'm just like, okay, let's go back down to the basics. And I had this beautiful doctor, beautiful nurse practitioner, sweet woman. And she told me, she was like, and by all means, the doctors beforehand put me on all these different medications and things of that nature to correct it. But she was just like, all I want you to do is change your diet. She said, I want you to drink more water. I want you to do less processed foods. And I want you to do more fruits and veggies, just a more cleaner diet. And I wasn't eating horribly then, you know. I do know now that I was consuming a lot of carbs because, yeah, either way. So it's those carbs, okay? But she told me to change the way I ate after a month, menstruated regularly. And I've been menstruating regularly since 2014. So at that point, I realized that guess what? Like what you eat is like, you are what you eat, you know, and a lot of people don't like to own that or hear that. And a lot of people like to joke about it because it's been said to me a lot, you know, they're just like, oh, I mean, what they say, you are what you eat. No, but you legit are. Because when I was able to see a change so quickly, I was like, okay, I want to maintain this. Mm-hmm. So that's where my wellness journey really started, was like, and it's sad though, because that was something else that is a big thing, is like perspective. You know, because it had to take for something like that to happen for me to change my perspective. And ideally with FAYA, I'm sorry, just had to kind of just streamline it back in there. But with I Am FAYA, like one of the goals that I see for it is just to make wellness actually more attainable and more fun, as like she was saying in the mission, because people don't necessarily need to wait until something bad happens, you know? So, so yeah, that's my wellness journey that really got me committed to the body.
So the spirit and the body. So how did you guys like initially just connect to say, hey, we're gonna do this movement together?
You start that. Go ahead.
How did we connect? So a little bit of background about me and Francis. So we went to school together. We went to high school together 15 years ago. And so we've known each other for a very long time, but we disconnected, you know, as grown-ups do. We all go our separate ways. Life happens, right? And so, you know, as Francis has gone on her wellness journey and gone through life, I've gone my life as well, gone through whatever journey I've gone through. And so we connected because I just so happened to do a pop-up one day, and the pop-up that I was doing, she was actually hosting it. Right. And so we just ran into each other randomly, and I was doing photography at that time. And so, but we stayed connected. Like whenever Francis would have an event, I would show up. Whenever I had an event, Francis would show up. It was just that mutual, whatever it was that we had, I'm just going to call it divine. We never knew.
It all started with wellness.
It all started with wellness.
I hate to cut you. Mm-hmm. Was it the pop-up or was it the farmer's market? And you came and took pictures.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Oh, you're right. Mm-hmm. See, it all started with wellness. So Francis was doing a pop-up. She was doing a pop-up, and she was selling her juices, and I came out and I did photography for her. Yes.
And I was like, I need some shots. Yeah. It was my first farmer's market. So I was just like, oh my God, I need some good pictures. I was like, who can I call?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yep. And so we just stayed connected ever since then. So she reached out to me. We did pop-ups together. And so she seen me transition from photography into wellness. And when she seen me transition, we was like, let's go out it was random. Let's go out to eat one day. Let's catch up. And we both sat at the table. And the moment we sat at the table, I looked at her, she looked at me, and I was like, I got this idea. And she's like, I got this idea too. And so we both had the exact same idea to come together.
And
that is very divine.
Listen, very. And it was funny because so when we were at the pop-up, you know, that's when I was, honestly, when you told me that you weren't doing photography anymore, I was just like, okay. And you told me I had the book, and I was like, okay, perfect. So, you know, and I'll be honest, it was one of those things where like she wrote a whole book, like out of support. I'm gonna see what this is about, you know? So I got the book and I was going through it, and literally I fell in love with the coloring page. The fact that like already knowing what the book was about from a spiritual wellness standpoint, it was the coloring page, because the coloring page was so like meditative, if that's a word. I'm going to use it today. Okay. But it was very meditative, and it took me back to like a very childlike space, and it allowed me to sit still and be quiet. So being able to do that, and then going through like the pages and then going through the exercises, I'm just like, hold up. Like this right here is gems, yo. And then in my mind, I've always wanted to do something which we'll get to, but I've always wanted to do more things when it came down to wellness. And like I had the physical, but I was just like, but this right here is the spiritual, this right here is the mental. Mm-hmm. So then that's why I was just like, I was like, oh, I need to know what's going on in Akeisha's life, because this right here is a lot. So I said, Akeisha, you trying to go out to lunch, to dinner or something? She was like, yeah. So then, and that's, So
that's very dope. Very, very, very dope. So like, now that, because today y'all hit me that y'all want to do a podcast, and we're doing a podcast. Yes.
I know this is like last.
But that's how we move though. But we're always, we always are, didn't mean to point, but we are always successful in learning and gaining out of those moves too. Because we are taking action. Yeah. And that's one of the things that we're just trying to, well, at least I know I can speak for me. I'm trying to do differently in this game is put more action towards it. Yeah.
But now that, we're doing the podcast, mm-hmm. and, you want to reach, an audience out there to, what topics, you don't have to be, get into it, but what topics do you think will be more, that you guys want to address and get to the people? Don't have to be anything too deep, but what topics do you think people
this is so exciting
want to hear?
You want to? Okay, so so for me, I believe that, so I'm going to talk about the topics that I feel like we should talk about, but I believe that this podcast is definitely a platform to show who we are in our wellness journey, like you mentioned earlier. So it's really just kind of a transparency thing for us to show where we are in our spiritual journey, where we come from, and where we're aiming to be, so that you guys can actually see the process and see that it is attainable. It does work. All of the things that we're speaking of, we put it into action as well. So it's not like we're just up here with topics and we're just up here giving our opinion. Like, this is, like she mentioned, action. I feel like this podcast is, and it's a verb, like we are podcasting, we are doing this thing for you guys so that you guys can be along with us. Some of the topics that I think that we're gonna touch is being able to learn how to shift your perspective, learning how to like change your mindset. For me, really, it's like all about changing your mindset. How do we get from where we are to where we want to be? And then also, just where was I going with this?
In terms of like what the podcast is like offering and things of that nature, because like she said, it is a verb, in terms of just wellness, because like wellness sometimes can be described as from like not well, it's a wellness, it's a state of being. Mm-hmm. But just all right, I feel like I'm going a little farther with that, but
like it was a simple question, but it's like a hard thing to answer because we want to.
Yeah, but like the big thing about like with the podcast and what she was saying and like what we want to offer is more of just like showing what wellness looks like. Because sometimes people can think wellness is salads and exercising, but no, wellness is like literally just maybe showing up for yourself. Wellness is saying like, what, I am going to get up early and, I'm going to sit here and get my day together. Wellness is being on time. It can be any one of those things, but it's something that I'm aware of. Okay. I'm aware. I am trying my best to do better. Okay. But we want to show the people that wellness, what it looks like, how attainable it is, because some people feel like wellness is really hard. Now, our wellness journeys, like mine started, like I know for a fact started back in 2014. So we're talking about, we're creeping up on a 10-year, journey. So it's just like, and some people will say, oh my gosh, you're so far along, like you're so perfect, but I am nowhere near. And I don't feel like there's really an end line when it comes down to wellness. So
that part,
I feel like what we're really trying to do is just allow people to see, what wellness looks like, how easy it can be to like really pursue it. And then from an accountability standpoint, because we're trying to show the relatability of it, and offer people, that ability to attain it themselves, so yeah.
Okay.
We just want to, and then we just want to make it look fun, because wellness can be fun. That, and that's
Yeah, that's more, that's a stigma, especially, I mean, speaking from a guy's perspective. Sometimes when we think of wellness, we just think of, or even spirituality, we think of like, Erica Badu and just doing this, and,
yoga and meditating.
meditating, but it's more than just that. It's like you said, accountability, getting better gradually, not trying to speed up the process. But yeah, I like what you said about, or if you want to elaborate, we could just get into it. But like you said, changing mindset, right? What does that mean? And I ask both of you, for the two of you, because a lot of people, when they say about changing their mindset, they get caught within their ego, and they lead with their ego instead of leading with sense, or just looking at their environment and saying, okay, maybe I got to do this to get where I'm at. But it's always ego for a lot of, I'll speak for a man, a lot of us, we're stuck in our ego. So what do you guys feel about like changing your mindset?
What I can say on that is, ultimately it is the changing of the mindset. But I think what we really want to do is more of like broadening and opening up that perspective. Because I used to say that too. Like, I want to change the mindset, but not necessarily change. I just want to bring you a different, idea or look on what it is, to show you that, like, especially like, from individuals where the ego does hold them back, that, you don't have to be hard about it. It's just understanding that this is a whole nother viewpoint on it, and what is it that you want for yourself? And then I want you to apply that to what this now new perspective that you have gained. How can you make that work with self?
I like that. I feel like that's and I love how you said it. I feel like it's a PG version of me saying it's waking your ass up. It's showing you something different. So like when I say changing your mindset, so like we set all of these, and this is something I talked about before, like we'll set a goal and we'll set the same goal 5-6 times. And it's like, what do you need to do to now attain this goal? Like if you set out the goal to lose 10 pounds and you set out this goal 5 or 6 times, it's like now you need to maybe change your mindset. But what does that really mean? Like you said, it's broadening the perspective. It's understanding that maybe the way you were approaching the goal didn't work. So let's find a different way to approach it. So it's really saying the same thing, I guess, but it's instead of attacking the goal as a whole, maybe break it down into little baby steps. You know what I'm saying? Like start with just the first step, and master just the first step instead of trying to go to the second step. You know what I'm saying? So okay. I guess that's what it means for me to change your mindset.
Okay. That's
I mean, and I'll accept that it's more the PG, in terms of broadening and opening it. But it's just because you got so many people out here where, like, sometimes when you do come at them real hard with it, they get very much so defensive and intimidated by it, or it's just too much for me. Because I was just watching something recently and they were talking about like just being a vegetarian or being a vegan, and the guy who was on the other side of that, who was the non-vegan, non-vegetarian, he just sees it as, I don't understand why vegans just always want to push it in their faces. And it's not that, maybe that's your perception.
Was it a guy that said that?
It was.
Okay.
It was. But it's crazy because it's just like, it doesn't necessarily, like, that was your viewpoint on it, and maybe the person that he was talking to was like, oh, you need to do this. And it's just like, you don't necessarily want to scare people away. Like you want to be, and that's the hard part about right now, just deciphering the different types of people that you're dealing with, because it's like, that's a whole nother topic, because it's just like, sometimes if you don't really know who or what you're dealing with, sometimes it can be hard for you to really want to explain something because you don't know how it's going to be received. That's why it's just like, I'd rather bring it to you from a open-minded standpoint. I want to just give you this perspective and just hear me out, and then tell me what you think about it, versus being like, do this. Not saying that's what you're saying, but like, because some people just may not know how to take it in.
Yeah, just from you said that from the dude said, stop, you gotta push it. I always look at it like this, like, with men and certain guys, even with me, sometimes a whole new lifestyle of eating, especially with guys like that like to eat meat. It's very hard to say, hey, eat this new thing, and then once you're like addicted to eating that type of stuff, you hold on to it. You're gonna hold on to it. You're gonna find these little excuses like
that's the addiction.
I'll have my friend, like, I'll tell him, hey, why don't you try this? It's not like a vegan burger, like, doesn't taste anything different from like a regular burger from Burger King. I'll tell you, try this. It's like, that's grass. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
So this is like ways of trying it differently, right? So like you'll go out and you'll just order them a vegan burger and don't tell them and let them eat it. And then it's like when they bite into it, they're like, oh, this isn't bad. What is this? And then you've already subconsciously changed their mind a little bit because they're not like, this is just grass. This tastes horrible. So it's like little ways that you can do stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's very important for men because men don't like to, I was gonna say men, it is hard for men to, and maybe I'm generalizing, so I won't generalize, but it's harder to like get men to try certain things, especially when they're.
Not to call out, I'm not gonna call him out, but I do have a sibling and he knows who he is. That's very much like that. And I have another sibling who really likes to try anything under the moon. He'll try, and she knows what I'm talking. I think you know what I'm referring to. But like, I think, typical guys, they have a hard time just getting out of their own way and they'll find an excuse. Like this other dude I was talking to was like, well, they told me to put him on a vegan. They told my dad to go on a vegan diet and he got sick because his body wasn't used to it. I was like, well, he got sick because he's used to meat and he's changing the plants. That's gonna happen. It's good. His body has to get used to that.
It has to regurgitate all of the leftover sickness.
Yeah, he has to, he has to get used to it. And there's certain proteins that animal proteins he still needs in his body. And well, there's protein shakes. You know what I mean? There's different things where you could get that source of protein from, but
that's a whole nother conversation.
But
so that's a conversation that we may have. That's a topic. Veganism. Because
then also I want to add on top of that too. I know we're not trying to generalize, but it's people. And then also another aspect of it is it's the addiction. Like food, like anything can be an addiction, And if he's now throwing stuff up because now he's going through withdrawals because his body doesn't necessarily want that, Our bodies are so used to certain things. Even down to like sugar and coffee. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be a drug for it to be an addiction. But I do just want to take the angle. I don't want to take that generalization out because I deal with females who are very like stuck in their ways and you can't tell them any other way. And it's just like, I'm only trying to help, but if you feel like it's not something that you want to do, it's a change that you don't want to make. And that's a whole nother thing right there too. People don't like change. Don't like change.
And people only, and the sad thing, people only look at change when they got the illness right in front of their face. And it's like, well, now I have to, or I'm going to, God forbid, die. That's when, and that's the reality of it.
That's true. So I was actually thinking about this earlier. I was thinking like, how people say, enjoy your life. We're all gonna die. You can eat all of the healthy foods that you want. You can, be as spiritually well as you can be. You can be emotionally, but at the end of the day, we're all gonna die. But for me, it's like your quality of life.
Yes.
To me, that's a wellness.
Yes.
What do you want to be on this earth? So like just surviving and just like here, or do you want to enjoy your time while you're here? Every piece of it. And really in the long term, if you think about it, also from another aspect, like financially, they say to be well, you have to spend all this money, which is not necessarily true. And we'll talk about that as well on the podcast. But you don't have to spend all of this money to attain wellness. But in the long run, you'll spend way more money taking care of medical bills, XYZ, once you become older and you can't function properly, than you would, if you just start right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. To that, I have a couple of friends that always say, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And I'm just like,
It's that mindset too.
it's that mindset.
like you say that now, because this is maybe like 3-4 years ago. We were 25, 22, 23. We said that then, but it's gonna creep back. It's gonna creep back. It's
Yeah.
gonna come back at you, and you're gonna be like, well, dang, now I gotta walk in a cane, or like you gotta take all this medication before you get up. Like all these stumps, this stuff creeps up on you. And
Yeah. I think for like mentally, where wellness really kind of came into the picture for me was, as a social worker, I was working in a hospital. So like working in healthcare, and seeing people who are 40, 50 years old, like in the hospital for encephalopathy or like diabetes and COPD. And it's, oh yeah, you were enjoying your life. You was living your best life with all them bottles, all them cigarettes.
What is encephalopathy?
Encephalopathy?
Yes. What is
So
that?
it's just like when because this one was metabolic encephalopathy, but it's like when there's like fluid. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's look it up. I'm ready to put my phone out and Google it. But like when there's a lot of water like on the brain and it swells.
So like inflammation.
But like inflammation of like the brain, but it got to the point where it spread in this one's body.
Yeah.
Hold on, because y'all ain't about to get me wrong up on here.
But like that's crazy because
but knowing but at that age, you're like in your 40s, mid 40s, 50s, early 50s, and you're going through all of that. No, but I just was reading this book, and it was about the 6-year-old who was just when he changed his life at I want to say it's 40, is just drinking juice, and living like a vegan diet. He's living his best life right now.
Yeah.
And he was like, and I'm only 60. So my thing is just for me, it's just I get that YOLO, live now, do whatever I want to, because I'm gonna die at some point in time. Well, I want to live good up until I die.
Yeah.
And the thing is, again, with FAYA, sorry, I mean to cut you, but that's our goal, because we want to make wellness attainable and fun, so that way people are like, you know what? Let me tap into that. Mm-hmm. Let me tap into how fun that actually is.
Yeah.
And I'm taking care of myself. I got energy like they do. Oh, snap. By doing just drinking a juice every day? What? Yeah. I'm being mindful. I'm being mindful of self, and I'm taking care of self. Mm-hmm. What? What's not enjoyable about that?
Yeah. But yeah, like you said that to the point where you said you saw like those people suffering from those illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Around one time, this is like a couple months ago, when I was with you, we went to some place in South Richmond looking for food or something like that. And I'm not here to, shame anyone for how they look or how they, I'm not that type of person. We went, and this dude ordered some, I don't know what he ordered. He was like the typical fast food, 12-piece chicken or whatever. And his waist,
I'm not laughing.
His waist, man, I was just like, you know what, man? I'm not gonna eat fried chicken like that to the point where my waist look like. And I'm not here to judge anyone for how they look, because I don't know what that man's going through. But when I saw him order that with the way his waist looked like, I was like in the picture.
Is it just me, or I feel like I do that whenever I go to so I don't eat a lot of fast food, but whenever I go to fast food, I always see certain types of people. And again, we're not judging anyone for what you do or what you eat. That's on you. That is completely your choice. But when I do visit certain type of restaurants and I see people coming out and they are limping and they look like they're physically in pain as they walk to their car, but they're walking out of McDonald's or walking out of these certain restaurants. And I, me being non-judgmental, but kind of also a little judgmental, it is really what we eat, because we also think about a lot of these diseases and stuff. I know some people may say, well, this is just by chance. This just so happens that I got cancer. A lot of this stuff you're feeding it. So whether you have these certain cells in your body or not, you're feeding these cells, and you can keep these cells dormant. You don't have to feed them. They don't have to grow and fester in your body.
It truly doesn't. Especially when and I think that's where it goes back and forth, because some people are aware and don't care, and some people just are not. They're aware, but they don't necessarily know the steps to take to better. And again, it's spiritually and from a physical standpoint, because like, I guess like right now, like, you said that when y'all see people that are in that state, and it's just like, come on now, really. But for me, it's just like, what was a big trigger for me now is like, if somebody, like, I've been told, like, from a spiritual standpoint, speak with a more of a wealth consciousness, So if I ever hear anybody like talk down about themselves or just kind of talk down about something that's positive or something to do that's positive, I will always correct that, because it's just like, no, like, we need to think more positively, if we want positive to live in our lives or be around us, or we want to be submerged in that, or if we want good for ourselves. So like, definitely don't talk bad about yourself around me, because I ain't having it, and I ain't gonna let y'all have it, But then also, like, when it comes, like, well, just as what's one of the big things, I was trying to go from a physical standpoint. I don't know. It is.
Speaking, always say like what you say about yourself is some form of reflection, but it's also what you hear from other people that could get you to that point. And I do feel like for men and women, we look at it very differently of how we look at ourselves. But I always say that, like I said, not to repeat myself, it's a reflection of yourself. Like,
no, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like how you said, when people say it, it can also stem from what other people say about you. Like, do you believe it? Do you believe what other people are saying about you? That kind of touches back onto my whole brand. I am like, are you defining who you are, or are you letting somebody else define you? Are you the person that you were placed on this earth to be, or has this earth conditioned you to believe that you are a certain person, or you only provide a certain value to this world? Because we're invaluable. Everybody that walks this earth is invaluable. Like, my value, and I'm still practicing accepting how invaluable I am to this world, just as everybody else is. Like, and people always ask, what's your value? I feel like that's putting a limit on who you are. Like, I can be anything, I can be everything. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's not to someone specifically, but I can be that to myself. So
yep. Always, if you learn something today, just be positive. Don't don't put negativity on yourself, and don't,
especially if you're around Francis.
Okay. Listen, because you are beautiful. You are love. You are joy. You are great energy. And believe that. People may say what they want to say, but again, like you said, it's a reflection of themselves. So understanding that, like, if somebody says something negative to you or about you, that ain't got nothing to do with you, unless you are just
it really don't, though. That's a reflection of them. Whatever they say to you, it's a reflection. They're seeing you through the perception of their own experience and their own eyes. So they're really only basing whatever they say to you, they're basing it off of them. So
but any other things you want to let the world know about the I Am FAYA movement going forward? Any last thoughts? I like this movement.
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, thank you.
Love the juice too.
Right? Listen, okay, just real quick,
we gotta do a cheers. Did we do a cheers on? Well, we did.
I don't know if we did it. I think we did it in the beginning, but just like, once again, this is Coco Gin, one of a new juice that we're working with. Actually, it's kind of like an oldie but goodie. Just kind of bringing her back, but just to kind of help with our energy levels today. Just juiced up some pineapples, some lemons, some oranges, kind of help fight, build up that immune system, also give us some energy. Obviously ginger and coconut water to hydrate us as well too. But I was just like, so we just got a little cocoa gin here and our cute little pouches too. We trying out some new stuff, some things, but yes, thank you. Thank you for supporting us and helping us in this movement.
So we need to introduce Peter.
Right.
Who is Peter though?
Who is
You gonna be
Peter?
gracing the podcast.
Right. Okay, so Peter is my cousin, my baby cousin, but he's like a grown man now. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Here we go.
He just recently moved back to Richmond. Yeah, but a few months ago. So he is here with us, and just like just kind of not just for work. He's here for his own reasons, and he can explain that too. But this is my cousin. He also has a podcast himself. It's the Kickback.
Yeah, Kickback
podcast. Okay. With him and his friends, and I honestly called him up this morning, just like, can you give us some pointers on a podcast? And look at this. You see the support. Do you see the support? Okay. Closed mouths don't get fed, so open your mouths. Okay, people, take that. But tell people who you are.
Well, I am her younger cousin. My name, obviously is Peter. I, was born in Chicago, but moved to Richmond. I don't know how many, like 4 or 5 months old. And when I was 11, I left and moved. Well, a family event happened. I don't have to go into that, but I went and I moved to London for like a year. Came back. My mom moved to Maryland, and then I went to Ghana. And any Ghanaian that's watching this, it is very true. If you do some stupid stuff, they're going to take you there. It's not
They'll
a myth.
ship you. They'll ship you back.
That's anytime they tell you that, I take that serious. So I went to high school in Ghana for 4 years.
I will ship you out.
I came back to Maryland, and went to Frostburg State. That's like an unknown college in Maryland somewhere, very cold.
It's a place where he got a degree.
Yeah, but
so you gotta reword it sometimes,
Yeah.
Change that mindset.
They gave him a degree. Okay.
I got my accounting degree there, and that's where Frostburg's where I met my close friends that we did the Kickback podcast. And if I told you when I met them that we would do a podcast, would have been like a whole lot, because the way we met was a whole nother story. But they've been my guys for almost 2016 when I met them, so get into 8 years or something like that. So yeah, they've been my guys for a while. I moved to Alexandria, Springfield in 2018. Got a job as a consultant, and I've been doing that for the past few years. And COVID happened, and and then the inflation started to,
get crazy.
Get crazy, and I had to dip because it just got too expensive.
Okay.
So I decided to move back here 6 months ago, save money. I know Francis.
He just wanted to be close to me.
Francis and Kevin. Shout out to Kevin.
Oh, sorry, my brother too.
Yeah. Kevin, I know Kevin. Shout out to Savannah too. But, yeah, the family, I know them in this familiar place. I don't whenever when I lived in Alexandria, Springfield, every day I had to use like Google Maps to get around. Here I don't really have to do that.
Okay. So I mean, if I go to the south side, I still have to. But in the south.
Yeah.
South side.
I live on the west end for the most part. It's not that hard to. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I've it's been a good experience coming back, and had a broad of life experiences. Yeah, it's cool to support people that support you. So.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate you.
Right. We are happy to have you.
Peter's gonna give us the male perspective of all of the stuff because there's so many podcasts with 2 women.
That's true.
And there's a lot of we hear women's opinions all the time, especially when we go search for podcasts. We always stumble upon women who are speaking on a lot of the stuff that we are going to speak on, but not only do we want to give a different perspective, we want to give a man's perspective, a Black man's perspective. So
someone who is just emotionally intelligent too about certain things that some men, maybe from an ego standpoint, and you can clarify that for us.
You
But
know, like a lot of men, a lot of super masculine men would, you know, would be upset with some of the stuff I would say because I'm being accountable and kind of just looking instead of leading with my, I'm a man, you know, I have to sit back and be like, if I do this, think two steps with think two steps
Mhm.
before you
Mhm.
do something, or just fall back and just be like, hmm. I think a lot of us guys we fall in love with our egos that we don't really listen um, to what a woman has to say. We brush it off, and then we wonder why they say, or we wonder why they don't feel protected. You know what I mean? So I'm just the voice of reason. I do see a guy's perspective for certain things, so don't think that I'm just like gonna just be, you know,
but respectfully,
thinking,
so let's
you know what I'm
proceed though,
saying?
because we want to know.
Yeah, I will
you
give
know?
an honest male perspective on
Yeah.
things, but I'm not a guy that just leads with my ego. I think.
Can I ask you a question before we wrap it up?
Yeah.
So, what got you to the space where you're comfortable sharing or being in touch with your emotions or being emotionally intelligent? Because I feel like that may be a
That's
hard
great.
space for
To get there.
to get there.
Right.
So, and when I was around 13, well, when I was 11, 12, my father passed, and he did. I'm not, you know, I'm not gonna get too deep, but he did things that when I thought about it now as an adult, you know, you'd be like, huh, you don't have to do that, or you learn from your parents or your father's mistakes, and you learn that some things, because I learned what happened with him, and sometimes it's like if he just thought, maybe if he had just thought through a little bit or didn't leave with his ego, some certain things wouldn't have happened.
Mhm.
And I don't want that to happen to my brothers. I don't want that to happen to anybody else. And when I was 13, 14, I got into these situations where I wanted to fit in with people or fit in with a crowd, and I got into all this trouble. And I look back and I was like, I did all of that because of my fragile ego, and I wanted to fit in. I wanted to get the girls. I wanted them to, you know, rock with me or whatever. But then I lost a touch of who I was. I wasn't being true to myself, and I wasn't thinking. When you're 13, 14, you're not thinking on an emotional level. You're not that old. But if I had a father that was there that would teach me, or if I had certain things, maybe my emotions wouldn't be, maybe I wouldn't lead off of my emotions and my ego. Maybe I'd fall back and I'd think twice. And then when I went to Ghana, a lot of a lot of things happened. It was like karma hit me because now I'm actually behaving, but now it's like I got to look back and be like, oh, wow, all of these things. Like I just thought twice. I just chilled out. I just thought a little bit before. And then when I was actually there was things happening to me, and no one was really there to stand up for me. No one was really there. Like people like, so I'm not gonna say no names, but people were taking advantage of me when I was there. And I also learned from them some of them their mistakes and how they thought they were projecting a lot of their foolishness on me. So it
It's a
taught.
cycle.
So I had to teach myself, like, okay, they have their problems. They want to project it onto me and make me look like I'm the bad guy or I'm this bad person. So I'm like, I know I'm not, but let me not fall into
That
becoming
cycle again.
them.
Right.
So let me fall back and think twice and think things before I. Let me just think a couple of times and think
Process it a little,
yeah,
yeah.
before I do anything, because I don't want to become them. I don't want to become someone who my father was. I want to become. I want to be me, and I don't want to lead with my ego. So I think a lot of guys, we go with our egos too much, and we think that's what's being real. Like you hear the word real nigga. That's not being a real nigga. Like going to jail and beating somebody up, that's not, or like go, yeah, all that. That's not being a real man. That's just being a stupid guy. You know what I mean? And then, like you said, a cycle of repeats itself. So falling back and then looking and just thinking things thoroughly, I think from all those experiences got me where I'm at now. So, yeah.
I think that's I think also the missing link in all of that was the aspect of just like processing things, like you're saying. And you had, even though it was, oh, I'm not gonna say it was a horrible experience because you gained a lot. You gained a really big thing out of that experience that some people still, it's hard for them to even grasp at all. But because you had two totally different experiences of this is what you do when you don't process, but then I go to a place where this is the repercussions if you don't process. But now I'm also seeing you do the process. I'm seeing you do the action when which you're not processing it. And I wouldn't want you to be where I'm at in this current moment, you know? So you were in a very beautiful place where you were able to gain all of those different perspectives and experiences to realize, all right, I know this is what I don't want. This is what I do want. How do I get there?
Yep.
And you said, I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to think before I speak.
Yeah. It also, you have to also think beyond you, because you could be, because I think a lot of us, we don't think beyond, we don't think about our brothers, we don't think about, we think about us. So like, let's say a fight breaks out somewhere, or something happens, or someone says something to me that I don't like. He says, "Yo, little bitch," or whatever, and I decide to go punch the dude in his face, and he grabs a gun, and he doesn't hit me, he hits my brother.
Right.
That's something you gotta live with. You know what I mean? So like, sometimes you could just, you say a lot by not saying anything. Just walk away.
I think one of the topics that we should talk about definitely is how to identify the ego. Like, how do you acknowledge and know that you're leading with your ego versus sitting back and like, let me think about this first. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so, like you said, it's so easy to get lost in that ego. It's so easy to, especially if you've been leading with that for your entire life. How do you even know what that looks like? How do you know what the opposite of that looks like?
And then even sometimes, like, well, yeah, ego isn't always necessarily bad. And that's something that I'm having to learn because I'm on this whole thing of like, you know, ego, and like it's putting all of this, you know, negativity, and this is what's creating all this negativity. But no, ego is really like there to just kind of keep you on your toes, so that way you know how to react a little bit better. You know, so it's just like that learning of how to deal with it, but just understanding like, okay, were we talking about that earlier? About with the ego, it's just more of like how to work with the ego versus like I want to just get rid of it solely, you know?
Yeah, because it's all a part of you. Like, we don't want to be shamed into thinking that a portion of us is evil or a portion of us is bad. So we have to use I feel like the ego is the part that keeps you connected to this physical reality, right? Like, we're so much deeper than just our physical being, but that's kind of our ego. Like, we lead with, this is what I see, this is what I perceive, this is what I like, this is, you know, I like this, I like that, so I'm going to lead with that. I think that's your ego leading you.
I think it's more like I always look at it like toxic ego and then like positive ego. Like, say like you're skating, right, and you fall down, right? Some people will just say, I'm not gonna skate again. But then sometimes your ego is like, man, get up, man, try again. Like, so stuff is positive, like ego, like that is like, you know, or like, you know, you're trying to lose weight and you're like, oh, I can't do it. Like, nah, man, you gotta keep going and push yourself. Like, go, like you can do it. Like, that type of ego, I think, is, you know, progressive.
So would you say your ego, and I know we need to wrap it up. So last question. So do you think that your ego is like your consciousness? Like, it's the part of you that's speaking to you?
Yeah.
That's your ego. Yeah. And so I like how you said it's that you can have that toxic ego or you can have that positive ego. And really your consciousness is what leads you through this world. It's what's telling you what to believe about yourself. It's telling you what to believe about this world. So you believe, yeah,
because even like I look at it like what was the Dre video? It was the video where like you see the devil side and you see the good side. Like, if you fall down, that's really the toxic you were saying, man, quit. Man, no more. Like, the positive, like, nah, man, just go back. If you fell, like, get back up and skate again. There's no problem. You fall when you get up. So
it is what it is.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But I said I ain't gonna open my mouth because we'll keep on going, okay?
But yeah, I appreciate doing this. It was a great conversations we had.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Man.
Yeah.
Always a compliment. But this is I Am Faya, the wellness kickback.
Okay.
Hey,
You know what I mean?
the wellness kickback.
They're gonna be doing more episodes. I'm gonna be, playing my part in my role, navigating.
Much appreciated.
Give a male's perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. But let them know your social media, if anything, or just let them how to contact y'all. If y'all.
Okay, well, I am. You go ahead and start.
So me personally, Ivory, Akeisha on everything, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. If you want to tap in a little bit deeper into my mind, you can go to Twitter. It is the Ivory Akeisha because Twitter was being funny. So that's how you can get in contact with me personally.
With me, you can reach me at my business page, which is CocoGin_juice, CocoGin_juice, JUICE. For those who can't spell, it's okay. I'm just playing.
We're here for you.
We are here for you. I do have my personal private page. That's what is it? YEHMOHLEH, which is the pronunciation of my middle name, Yamale.
I always wondered what that was, but
yeah, that's my middle name. It's just the pronunciation, because if some people look at my middle name the real way it's spelled, Yamole. Is your name spelled? Is that Yamole? I got that.
And listen, y'all need to stop being disrespectful, butchering people's names.
I just put some respect on it.
Put some respect on people's names. Like if you do not know how to say it, just ask. It's a simple question.
I don't want to, because we got more on time now, but remember when my old last name used to be Tutu?
Mm-hmm.
Back, y'all, elementary school, I'm gonna get y'all. Y'all used to call me Tutu Ballerina Boy. I ain't forget.
See?
Oh, so yeah.
And go get a history lesson and learn where Tutu comes from.
Okay, right.
Come to find out, that's the name of an African king, and that's the most prestigious name in Ghana. I didn't even know that until I went there.
Okay.
Go get a history lesson and
Listen,
learn where that comes from.
Listen, learn something. But yes, but then also, so you can reach me at CocoGin_juice on Instagram, on as well as Yamale, YEHMOHLEH on Instagram. That is my personal private page. But also we have the I Am Faya, so THEIAMFAYA on Instagram and Facebook as well. So you can definitely reach us there.
But we don't have any TikToks yet.
Yeah, I think
we're gonna start doing something on TikTok.
We're gonna work on that one too. But it's beginning stages here. So definitely continue to follow us and follow along.
How can we reach you, Peter?
Yeah.
So me, my personal is at Kofi Peter. The Kofi is my African name, and Peter is spelled PITA because in college all my friends call me Peter Bread. I don't know why, but that was what they call me. But
they're so whack.
Back in college, there was a lot of funny stuff we did. But and my podcast is at official.
We put them on the spot.
Let me look that. At the official Kickback podcast is our IG. You could follow us. We're gonna have an episode come out before this year. We're gonna be talking about the Tory and Meg trial. Yes.
There's a trial.
Yeah, the Tory and Megan Thee Stallion trial. We're gonna talk about that, the verdict and the outcome. Yeah. We won't get on that here, but that's what we're gonna talk about there. But
it's all about balance. So get your wellness here, and then definitely go listen to the Kickback podcast.
Get you some pop culture. Get you some, current events of
music. Music and all. We talk music. We talk sports. We talk anything millennial and anything from the ages 22 to 22 to 40. Like we talk about it. Yeah. They call me old headed.
I love it. Yes.
Right. So
go ahead. What?
I was gonna say we're gonna wrap this thing.
Yes, this was actually really fun. I'm excited to do more. Yeah. So thank you,
No
Peter.
problem.
Thank you, Miss Keish.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Francis.
Listen, no problem. We are here. We thank you all for joining us. Follow along on our next one because there will be another. But yeah, y'all be good, be well, show up for yourselves, and think more positively.
Yeah, stay black, stay woke.
Hey.
I feel like I need an outro line too. Do you all?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.